Hi, it's Marcus here from ForPOS, a new demo of our latest and greatest ForPOS version. For scanning, this is typically the interface that will be used when you are in a retail store. You have retail type of products. You might have barcodes so that you want to scan. With a barcode scanner, you might want to search for the product by description, that type of environment. All right. So I've just rang up a couple of items here, the typical liquor store type of products. The system can be used for, in my opinion, most type of businesses. So liquor stores, supermarkets, butcheries, bakeries, delis, if you sell by weights. I mean, we have customers that will use ForPOS to do just quotes on because they want an official quote. We have customers that has uh, scrap metal type of businesses, and the scrap metal industry is quite controlled these days, so they would like to have a record of the sale. What did the person sell them? In other words, return to them, which they will then sell off to other people or other businesses for that matter. The system can link to scales. It can do a multitude of options. Let's go through the configuration of a system quickly. Oh, sorry, I'm in the finalization part of the system. That's why it doesn't allow me to get in there. So let's finish off the sale quickly. I'm just going to press F2 for cash. Or you can click it on the screen, or you can just press it. It'll pop the drawer for you. It'll print the slip automatically. If it has, you can see on the system there on the bottom left hand side, there's options to say ask yes or no for the receipt. These options can be recorded in the back office under store setup and security. So let's jump there quickly. Store setup and security, point of sale parameters. I can select here whether the receipt must be printed automatically or that must prompt me, ask me every time for the slip. Obviously, while we're here, we can go and put heading lines in second, heading lines in footers, etc., etc. You can type in your VAT number in the system. If you do not have VAT or you're not registered for VAT, you can change the system to 0% VAT as well, so that it doesn't reflect any VAT on your invoices, which is the legal requirements. Alright, so let's get back to the point of sale. Point of sale screen. I wanted to go into the configuration screen. So yeah, lots and lots of different options. You can specify what your A4 printer is, what your receipt printer is, where it is, what the size, what the width of the paper is, or the printable section of it is, how your till is connected. Typically it will be connected to the printer, your cash drawer in other words, whether you have a bowl display, yes or no. Customers with very, very old serial scanners, we still cater for those. You can specify if you have an A4 printer, what will print on the A4 printer, for instance. If you have scale weights, is a barcodes weight embedded or not price embedded. The default for butcheries is price embedded. We do have a couple of customers that use weight embedded codes. That's just the way that they get it. The DS780 is a little scale that's connected to the PC. We do have a lifestyle video on our website that will show you in practice and reality in real life how the customers use that for fruit and veg sales. You can enable a weight variance even for that, and what the weight variance will be. More details about that at a later time. Automatic tendering, when you have a central cashier kind of system. In other words, you will have maybe 3 or 4 terminals, and these people that will sell at those terminals are not allowed to take the cash. You will do the sale at these terminals. You will save the voucher or save the sale and then the customer will go to the cashier or to the central cash point to go and do the payment. That the cashier at that central cashier would then be able to retrieve that invoice by scanning the barcode that will be printed at the bottom of the receipt, and it will retrieve that invoice as it is. They can add on to it, etc., etc. Quite a nice little nifty system. Also, as you can see there, we allow for picking slips, where the picking slip is got to be printed. It's typically used for remote printing in a hardware type of store, where the hardware customer or a hardware supplier, the business, will want to print a receipt that will be handed to the person or given to or automatically printed in the collection section, where somebody will go and collect the sand and the cement from. In other words, it doesn't go through the till point itself. All right. You can allow for big display settings. I'll show you now what that looks like. We cater, not ATER, cater for a credit card interface through a company called Innovation. We also have Airtime Sales in the system and automatic airtimes. These Vega terminals is specialized card systems that is used for corporate companies that want to use their security cards in the building also to be able to be handled as a till point or an account identifier. All right. Cater for kitchen monitors, etc., etc. All right. And then also one of the latest add-ons that we've done is enable menu item image. All right. So let's show you a couple of those features and functionalities in the system. All right. So that sale is finished. So let me just go and sell a line lager, for instance. Again, you can scan the item if you've got the barcodes and the product with you. As soon as you ring it up, it'll prompt you immediately and say, well, what is the customer taking, a single, 12, 6, or 24? In this case, I'm just going to sell a single can, and as you can see, the little picture show on the bottom right-hand side. Originally required and asked of us for companies that mainly trade in materials. In other words, they've got rolls of material there. They do not necessarily know whether the code that they're using is for the right roll. In other words, now they can see a picture of the material or the pattern on there. The pictures and so on, it's within your ability to take a picture, save it as a GIF file, and link it to the product, either as a number or file name or whatever. We'll get into details about pictures and images in another video. Alright, as you can see on the screen, it's got a nice big display at the middle of the screen. This is quite handy for if you have a video camera system or CCTV then that monitors things. You can see that the product that's passed over the counter is in fact the line lager can, and they did ring up a line lager. So they're not substituting a cheap product or ringing up a cheap product for a more expensive product. Box of matches that goes for a liter of milk, etc., etc. Typical problems that we have in retail on a daily basis. All right. So let's assume that that's all the person wants. We will press. As we're saying, let's assume that that's all that the customer wants at that time. So we can either press the F10 button or just click on tender, type in the amount of money the customer has given you, 20 Rand. Or 200 Rand. Let's just take one character out, 20 Rand. You can also do presets, like a 200 Rand could be a specific keyboard button on it. All the keyboard functionalities is totally programmable. You can decide that F10 must be the minus sign on your keyboard, on your numeric keypad. The cash is the plus, etc., etc., to make it easier for you. That will be all taken care of in the manual, as well as the keyboard programming or how to program keyboards video that we will be redoing to cater for the new formats of the videos. All the old videos will be redone to cater for the new look and feel of what 4POS can do. Alright, so that's all that the person wanted. I'm going to either click on cash sale or press F2. The sale is now completed. Again, it will prompt you to pop the printer or select the printer and so on. In my case, I've set up my printer as being a PDF printer. That's what. So from there onwards, the sale has now been completed. Let's take a look at some back office functionality. We do have a liquor store database and a couple of others. We've done restaurant databases, we've done hardware store databases. These are all preloaded databases that will make it easier for you to activate and start up your business. So if in this case now I've loaded up a liquor store database, so if I go to stock create edit new stock item, you'll see that there is a myriad of products. In fact, there's 9,500 of them. So if I want to add a product, let's call it, I don't know, say Johnny Walker Black. It will bring up Johnny Walker Black, different type of bottles. Let's say Johnny Walker 750 ml. Double click on that item. It automatically knows where the product comes from, whether there's a deposit, which pricing group it must be linked to, which stock group it must be linked to. So we obviously don't want that to go to sherries. We want to go that to white spirits, argument's sake, or spirits imported for that matter, or whiskies, or whatever group you want to link it in. You can link up your pack sizes. It automatically knows that it comes in a box of 12 or a case of 12, and the price for a case is that kind of price. These days it will be a lot more expensive, obviously, but for sake of the argument, let's leave the price at that. And I'm selling that in single 12 and 24. Single and 12. If I click on next, it will automatically bring up the barcode screen, which will allow me to put in the barcodes of the single product, the single bottle. In this case, it automatically knows what the barcode is that has already been registered before, and also for the case. In this case, all barcodes that the system brings up as 888 is internal barcodes, in other words, part of 4POS. It's not barcodes registered internationally or on the product. So the databases are quite old in the sense that in some cases you'll find that we still refer to barcodes that might have changed over the years. Just double check and verify that your barcodes are still the same from the physical product. All right. And then in terms of selling prices and so on, the system will automatically calculate the prices for you. As you can see, the system caters for what we call a matrix price. Matrix price is that the system will go and have a look at what your cost is, plus a matrix percentage. In this case, it's not picking at anything up. So let's go back to the detail of it, and let's go and fix up my spirits imported matrices and so on. And let's look at matrix over there, and we'll say that fine, we'll have typically got a, let's call it a 19.5% markup on there. If they buy a single, if they buy a case lot, we'll give them 17.5% on my main point of sale sales channel. So there's multiple sales channels on the system, so I can say sales channel number 2 in my case. You can rename it. You can call it vendors, suppliers, other bottle stores, staff, pensioners, whatever you want to. You can use these 7 sales channels and the cost sales channel as any group that you might want to use. Okay, so let's say sales channel number 2, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to charge them 17.5% on that, and 15% on the case lots, 10% for sales channel number 3, and so forth. All right. The system is very advanced. In fact, I don't know of any other point of sale system that can compete with us with regards to what we call a pricing matrix. Pricing matrix is for what pack size, what percentages do you want to do. Now, in this case, it doesn't give you a clear idea of that, but let's finish this first, and then I'll go back to the pricing matrix and show you on the beers a better example. All right, so I fixed that up now. If I go back to my pricing, as you can see, my percentages are coming into play at the top, and suddenly the system says that I need to sell this item at 2,662.99, 2,600 Rand odd, based on the 17.5%. There's a couple of other ways that the system can also calculate. You can use your pricing matrix, or you can use what we call a prop percentage, which is like an override percentage, and say, well, in this case, let's do it at 16%. All right, and as soon as I tab away from that, you'll see it changes to a prop percentage at the bottom, and it's now calculated the prices at 16%. For the customers that want to work it out, remember now that the selling price, or to calculate the VAT part of it, that 322 that is displayed on the screen, take your selling price at 2628.99, divide by 1.14 in South African case, because that is what our VAT is, and that will give you a 322.86. Don't work it out on the 2628 because you'll, or 51, because you'll get a couple of cent difference. So that's how the system calculates the VAT. In other words, it says what part of the selling price includes VAT. What is the VAT portion of the selling price? Okay, just for background. So that's the second way. In other words, we've got the matrix, the prop percentage, and the third way would be to say, no, I want to physically type in the price. I want to sell that item at 2599. Okay, whatever works for you in terms of your marketing and merchandising strategy. Okay, if 2599 sounds like a better price, or sounds like a price that you can do, the system, you will be able to do that on the system. And that's what would be what we call in other parts of the menu and manuals, we will call the exit price, in other words, the price that the customer will pay. Just on that point quickly, if I go in the back office, we have help facility automatically built into the system now. So if you click on help and say view help, it effectively views the manual, and in the manual you can get all sorts of details. All the little plus signs next to the options here allows you to get into the different options. In other words, it explains in detail how to do the main stock by detail, what each and every little field means to you, and how you will calculate the percentages and so on. All right. So it's quite comprehensive in my opinion. We're obviously working on the manual on a day-to-day basis, so we'll keep on improving it as we go along. All right, so let's go back. We said that we want to go look at the matrices. So let's go and take the beer as an example. Let's take line lager, for instance. And I will look at line lager, and we want to jump straight to the pricing matrices. So I'm going to go to my pricing group, and it's local beer local then. And I'm going to look at my pricing matrix. So if I can just pull this away there. So you'll see that it becomes extremely powerful now, in the sense that we can go and put a percentage in per pack size. In other words, I can go and say on 330ml cans, what would my percentages be for each and every pack size that I have. In other words, on point of sale, if it's a single, I will charge 15%. But if it's a 6-pack, I will give the customer the benefit of 13%, for instance. On 12, I'll charge him 12.5, and on 24, I might even decide to give him 11%. Okay. Now, bear in mind that, again, you can do this for 7 sales channels plus a cost sales channel. CST doesn't have to be cost. It could be your 8th sales channel. So 8 types of groups of pricing structures that you can get. Now, to put it in perspective, we have a customer that does extreme amounts for liquor stores, in excess of 15 million. This customer will change all his prices in his business in a half an hour to an hour for all 9,000 products that he's got listed. Okay, and that is done by these pricing matrices. In other words, this is how powerful the pricing matrix can be if you use it correctly. All right, spend the time. Promise you, it's worth your while. All right, so that's the pricing matrix to give it a better idea. And again, in terms of this, you see this one is all worked out as matrices except a single. Let's take the single out as well, and you'll see that according to the system, at my 15%, I should be selling it at 5.20. Now that might be correct, it might not be correct, and might not be the percentage that you're looking at. All right. So that's the pricing structures on the system. Lots and lots more details available. You've obviously seen the shrinks now. Many options of shrinks that you can do. Shrinks is how you shrink wrap the product to promote the product in a better way, to make sure that the customer buys the maximum number of products in your store at the moment. In other words, you don't want to sell him a single beer. You want to sell him the case. Okay, or you might even want to sell him the pallet, for that matter. You will decide what works for your business and how do you promote, how do you get the customer to buy, to spend as much possible money in your business as you can. All right. We have many other functionalities. Again, there's videos and parts in the manual that will explain it in detail, but you can go and say pricing sets. Pricing sets is for all products that are similar to each other. You can go and link up these items as pricing sets. If it's a butchery, you will select that it's a scale product and allow fractions. Okay. If it's a business that you are not close to the stock, like a hardware store, for instance, you will say do not allow negative stock. For instance, if the stock levels have gone below 0, it will not allow you to sell the item because you can't see it. It's not something that the customer carries to your business. For any other business, do not use it. Okay. In other words, if the customer stands in front of the till point, he's got the product in his hand, why would you not allow him to buy it? Okay, if you haven't done your GRVs and fixed up your stock properly, why are you now saying to the customer, sorry sir, my system says there is no stock, therefore you're not allowed to buy the product in your hand? It just doesn't make sense. We cater for serial tracking on the system. We cater for airtime sales. We cater to print barcodes automatically, either shelf or barcode labels. Okay, shelf labels is the white strip that you see at supermarkets. We've looked at the option of putting or having 4PAS cater for electronic barcode displays. It's not practical at this point in time because of the cost. We worked out that they will go for in the region of about $10 or $5, between $5 and $10 per label, and that excludes all the Wi-Fi settings and the Wi-Fi repeaters that you would need to be able to update from your computer to the device itself. If it's something that you are looking at and definitely have the money to spend for your 2,000, 5,000 products times 100 Rand plus per item, give us a chat. We will gladly implement that option. All right. Now on the system again, did a little bit of this on the restaurant database or the restaurant demo. This we're allowing for pictures on the system right now. As I said, in the point of sale part of this system, it also shows you the stock level that you have. You're showing you the 12 last days, weeks, and months worth of sales that you've had on the system. Shows you different warehouses. We cater for multiple warehouses, so you can have front stock, back stock, that type of thing. Yeah, I think when we say there's 350 features, I think we need to go back to the drawing board. It's most likely 100 or so more, most likely 450, 500 features, and so on. From a systems point of view, quite confident to say that I don't think anybody can touch us in terms of functions and functionalities. We've tested it a couple of times because other companies, accounting companies, have contacted us and said, can you link to us? And I said, no, we can't, because your system is just not strong enough. So we cater for all sorts of things like that. We allow for exporting information to accounting systems. At the moment, we cater for Pastel, which is mainly a South African product, as well as QuickBooks, which is used more internationally. We cater for multiple currencies, multiple warehouse, multiple languages, multiple payout reasons. In other words, when you do payouts, you can go and group it together and say, this is all my payouts for salaries, or for wages, or for petrol, or whatever the case may be. So you can get a report at the end of the day and say, give me my payouts for the day or the week or the month, and I would like to see that in group sequence, group by whatever you have defined. Okay. We cater for many reports, so let's just go and say go to the load reports. On the system we have a dashboard which is like a summary of what's going on in my business at the moment. My sales and my stock movements is 765. The blue goes with the blue, the red goes with the red, and the green goes with the green. We can see the amount of profit that we're making at the moment is 78%, quite high, 21 odd percent GP that we're running on. In other words, the percentage there that we have seems too high. My stock is obviously totally incorrect in terms of the opening stock. I did have the shrinkage. In other words, I counted stock earlier in one of the demos and I adjusted my stock, but I'm still sitting on a negative stock figure, which is not correct. My debtors, my aging on my debtors, my accounts, on the accounts I can go and create different sales channels. In other words, I can say that this customer pays that price channel that I've set up in the pricing matrix earlier. We cater for consignment stock. This is stock that you're sending to the customer. He will come back on Monday to pay for it, etc., etc. And then it gives you a breakdown about where the business is lying. In other words, is it all customers over the counter? Is it these other groups of customers that's buying from you? In terms of reporting, again, the second most important, most used report, shall I say, is a product performance report. If I say I want that report by group, I can get it broken down into local beers in my example, or butchery. The detail of that, I've sold 27 beers. That is my profit percentage per item. There I'm making a negative profit, so I definitely need to go back to that item and go and say what is happening there. You can sort the system out or sort the reports out in many sequences. I can say gross profit report descending, in other words, from the biggest to the smallest, or from the smallest to the biggest, descending. So it will show me my negatives first, and then up to my highest item. So 96 is obviously unrealistic, minus 586 is as unrealistic. We have stock movement reports, which is quite nice. Did a lot of work on this recently. So the stock movement summary, you can print it by warehouse again. And in this case, you can see that let's look at my line log again. Sorry, it's alphabetical. So I started off with -7. I sold 27, so I've got minus 34 in stock. In other words, I haven't captured any stock. We cater for proper order processing. In other words, you can create the order to send to your suppliers, you can reprint it, you can process a GRV, which is a big word for goods received voucher, which is basically your invoice from your supplier. We cater for deposits, we cater for balancing your deposits even under the Stocktake. We've got a Stocktake adjustments. In other words, counting your deposits itself. We've got a deposit value report that we print in there, because a lot of liquor stores especially will find that they're carrying 20, 30,000 rands worth of deposit at any given time, and they don't really control it. That's real money. That's money that should be in your pocket. Now, obviously, when you do the GRV, the system will prompt you and say, well, okay, fine, which of these deposit are you sending back to your supplier, because you obviously don't want to keep it. You want to return it for a credit, and so on. And just on that point, the invoice layout, once you've processed the invoice, it is exactly the same as what a South African brewery invoice would look like. Okay. In the manual, again, lots of reports that will show you how to what the reports will look like. Let's just jump to reporting quickly, and a couple of examples of what the VAT reports, the purchase orders, etc., will look like. These are just samples. Obviously, once you started processing information, you'll get that out of it. Again, on the back office, if you go to the details, you go to order processing, orders and receiving stock, printing an order. That's the steps of how to print it, process a GRV, print a GRV, all of those type of things. Once you process it, it'll give you the goods receiving voucher itself, and you will have something for your records that you can keep and process. So the manual has got a lot of information in that will help you. If you had to print the manual, I think at the moment it'll be sitting at about 285 odd pages. So again, you can print it. Welcome to print it if you want to. There is a PDF option. There's a Mobi option. In other words, something that you can load up on your smartphone. But you can also print it if you want to, or just refer to it. It's got search facilities and all sorts of things on that. We also have obviously a knowledge base on our website, or maybe not obvious, that will allow you to go and search for specific questions about how to do certain things on the system that might not be covered in the manual as yet. All right. That in a nutshell is the scanning system. I hope it answers some of your questions. If there's anything else that we've missed, please drop us a mail to support@4POS, and we'll gladly assist. Thanks for your time.